Hello, everyone. Today is Monday, so we're going live, and we have something exciting to announce, and that is a new course coming out. And before we talk about that, yes, the link is in the description box. You can get it. It's 40% off because it's on a pre-order. It's an early bird, so hop on. It's a week. That's the deadline, and then after that, it'll be a regular price. Okay, so you can check the prices there. Don't ask me now. The link is just there. Read for yourself. If it's something that's a good fit, then go for it. Okay. So what are we talking today is how to get your child to speak clearer. Okay. And what does that mean? Um, so in tradition, sorry, I can't even talk today. Traditional speech therapy, there's speech and language, right? And a lot of the times when I talk to you, I'm teaching you how to do more language related activities like playing more, how to get them to say more words, how to get them to use more sentences and expand their vocabulary and language function and so on. And the newer course is to teach you how to correct their speech errors. Okay, so that's a huge part of our job actually. And as a whole, we call it articulation. And you might have heard of that before. It's an umbrella term that is a little bit misused, but I won't get into it tonight. And what I want to tell you now is to how to teach your child to speak clearer, because a lot of parents will say, "Oh, my kid," a lot of strangers, they cannot hear whatever that they cannot understand my kid. That's what they say, and I have to translate for them. So you're kind of like the translator if your child has like some speech errors that only you understand, right? And we're not talking about children who don't have words yet. Those ones are more language based, and that's when the gestures, whatever, those things come into play. But now we're talking about like children who already have some real words and real sentences, and they have some marked errors, meaning you can hear that they're saying things wrong. Okay, so today I'm going to tell you something that you need to do. All right, and that's something really important, which is we do a lot of times when we just start our master's program. And when I was like doing ABA therapy with autistic children, I didn't know any of this, so I really wanted to learn. And I remember going through the list of sounds, like my ABA supervisor told me to do it, and I knew that there was something wrong with that, right? There must be an easier way. So fast forward to masters, first assignment that I remember doing was like trying to mark down the errors. And what we had to do was we had to learn the whole phonetic system, the dictionary stuff, like the squiggly lines and stuff, the different vowels. And so we had to learn to transcribe, so that we became more phonologically aware of what sounds and errors there were when we're dealing with children. Okay, so that's one of them. Okay, so how do you do it yourself? It's impossible, right? If you were to learn all the signs, the squiggly lines, whatever, you don't need to. Okay, the first thing you have to do is to imitate your child. Like, think about if your child says a word like that is always wrong. It's always wrong. I want you to imitate your child doing it. And when you're imitating it, what you're doing is your brain is processing it, and then you become more clear what sounds are either wrong or missing. Okay, so when you do that, now you have a better picture. Or maybe that if they say, for instance, they say ladder and they say yadder, right, with a Y instead, then you will know, oh, the L kind of becomes a Y at times. Okay, and it's not always consistent, right? You have to do it for all the different types of errors that your child has. Sorry, my cat's crying. Don't know why. Anyways, so you gotta understand imitating your child's errors is very, very important, because you become a master of, and you can predict, this word, he's gonna muck it up. He's gonna do this, and he's gonna just screw it over, like screw up the word totally, right? And when it's that, it becomes a lot easier for you to communicate with your speech therapist. You say, oh, my kid has these sounds missing. I love it when parents can tell me, oh, it's the L, it's the Y, it's the R is gone, the S sounds like it doesn't exist. I love it, because then I can exactly tell you what to do then, right? So this is your first assignment. If your child has speech errors, imitate your kid as well as you can, because no one else knows your child's sounds better than you, basically, because you hear it every day, unless it's a trained ear like me. And I think I'm not the best person to teach speech errors, that there are teachers who I look up to as well. And obviously, like later on, I'll tell you more about like as if you're on my email list, right? If you're on my, I'm going through and teaching parents through email about how what resources there are, where to look for it, and so on. And I'll tell you where. All the information you need to teach your kid to speak clearer is on the internet, but you just don't know the words. You didn't have the education to search on Google easily, right? So everything is searchable. Okay, that's how people like do the work. Even doctors have to search on Google at times just because they can't remember all the information. See, so it's not really the information that's the problem; it's the execution of that information that's the biggest problem. So that's what I'm trying to teach you here. All right, and that's why I've made the course. It's gonna be totally available. Right now it's pre-order, right? The course will be in 7 days on the 27th of June, and now it's pre-order is 40% off. You can use the link in the description. Grab it now. After 7 days, it will be regular price again. Okay, so let's see some questions. Isa says, "Hi, my son is 3-year-old. Didn't understand what we said. He's not making sentences, but few words." All right, so we're not really talking about language per se today, Isa. But for this stuff, you can refer back to the previous videos, and also you can also look at the if it's only a few words, right, and not making sentences. Then I think one of the courses that we have is called Word Combiners, is rather suitable for your situation. But there's loads of resources in our YouTube channel. If you search how to teach children to speak in sentences, you'll see a lot of stuff that I say. Okay, you don't necessarily have to buy stuff from me. That's what I mean. Okay, and where was I? Okay, so if you can identify what your child's errors are, it makes it super easy then to single down on that sound and start teaching it. Okay, now single it down. What does that mean? So if your child is missing the S sound, can you do the S sound alone? Okay, so the bigger mistake I see parents trying to correct children is that they kneel down, they go down to the level because that's what the educational consultants in the kindergarten teach, which is right. Okay, so I'm playing with my hair because it's wet. I just had a shower. It's very irritating. So go down to the level and say the word slowly and articulating it very clearly, like showing the mouth very exaggerated and so on. Like that's cool, that's fine, right? But given that they have already screwed up that word at what we call word level multiple times, what is the chance that they would suddenly be able to do it, right? So you and I, if you speak more than one language like I do, you must have had some words that in the foreign language that you're not very accustomed with. There must be some words that is super hard for you to pronounce in the very beginning, right? Let me give you an example. So for me, I'm in Indonesia, right? So sometimes they say some Muslim words like "Assalamualaikum," right? In the beginning, it was like a tongue twister to me. I did not know what the heck was going on. I really didn't know. It was like to be honest with you. And there are some words I still cannot pronounce, no matter how many times I hear it, because I don't understand what the sounds are involved. Okay, so my cat is finally given up. So sorry, I'm working. So yeah, you need to understand that word level is impossible. So what do? You break it down, right? But the problem with a lot of parents and teachers is that they think they can only just break it down into like the separate syllables, and then they would think that, oh man, they've learned it now. So let me go back to that example I was saying, Assalamualaikum, right? The logical way is to say Assam, Assam, Malay, Mulai, or Mulai, whatever, Mulai, Kum, or whatever. So like you split into the separate syllables. But the problem is with these, with a speech error, with a speech sound disorder, it comes down to the individual sound, individual consonant that has a problem, right? So if you hear that the S's are gone, the T's are gone, the K's are gone, the P's are gone, whatever, then you need to get down to that level when we call it a phonetic level, right? Only that sound. And when we do that, we call that by isolation, right? So people say, if you read in a report, phonetic level, isolation level, what it means is just the consonant itself, right? And this is something I go into much more detail in the course, but that's what you need to be doing, right? The first thing is to identify that and then see if they can do um, see if they can actually do the sound on its own. And that's pretty much it. Like, we do 3 things in a speech therapy clinic. All right. The first thing is articulation tests. Those, like, a word list, and then like the kid reads apple or pear or whatever, and then we're listening and we're marking down, scribbling stuff on the piece of paper, and then we're like, okay, this sounds fine, this sounds gone, this sounds whatever. We identify all the sounds that are missing and erroneous, right, in a very systematic way, that the test is made, right. And obviously, it's best that you see a speech therapist to do this, because if you administer it, the kid might be like, oh, whoa, and then it's very difficult to get it done at home, right? So after you do that articulation test, we do 2 more. One is called a stimulability test, which is what I told you about just now. Can you stimulate that sound at an isolation level, right? Is it stimulable? Meaning, can you make the child say the sound? Okay, so I just came back from church just now, and there's a kid who he's like P5 now, and he keeps on putting his tongue in between his teeth for S, and that we call it a dentalized S, meaning it's like you put your tongue between your teeth, which is your denture, like that's like teeth, right? And he makes like, and he talks like Mike Tyson. I always tell him, hey, dude, you talk like Mike Tyson, and it's hurting my professional ear. It's really hurting me. So he was stimulable to do the S sound by its own, like that, without putting the tongue in between, like that. So he actually can do it. So the next level is, like, after we know that, we need to do a deep test. And as a speech therapist, what we do as a deep test is to see at what level would he go back to his bad habit of doing like that. So what I mean by that is from S, and then you go sa, like just a C, the consonant isolation plus the vowel. So it might be sa, it might be si, it might be se, it might be so, right? And you see if he can do it or not. If he goes like, you say, hey, can you go sa like that? He goes tha, and then oh, that's the breakdown. Like, that's where he can't do it anymore, right? So therefore, the training will start at that level. So it's very intuitive. It's a very traditional way of doing speech therapy. Okay, and that's what I use a lot. I don't use a lot of like innovative speech therapy methods. I think I should be, but at the same time, why I think it's very important for me to do it is because it makes a lot of sense, and it's very easy for parents to actually follow, because it's very structured. And that's what we're trying to teach you inside of this crash course. And obviously, it's not going to be perfect, all right? Like all courses that I make, we update it. Okay, whenever we see something, I have a whole backlog of stuff I have to update for the courses that I've written down from like parent feedback. So if you get in early, it's actually better, because it gets better and better and better down the road with your feedback, right? So inside the course, I will also teach you how to say specific sounds, right? Specific sounds. So for instance, the most common ones that I encounter, like the L sound, S that I talked about just now, P, T, and then the K sound, and then the F sound, the M sound, the W sounds. There are loads of different errors, but at the same time, what I want you to do, what I want to teach you is like the framework about how a therapist thinks, right? And it's a really fast crash course, because obviously you need to go through like how many 101s are there in a speech therapy degree to actually get into a clinical room to learn how to do this kind of stuff. So I'm telling you just really quickly, just the practical stuff only. And there are like minimal theory involved. And obviously just to get across some points that I see like frequently asked questions, like, well, what about apraxia? What about oral motor? If you've watched me long enough, then you would know my stance about oral motor exercises. I still use it, but only for certain things. And I cannot just tell you whether if it's true, it's correct or not, just by you asking. I see a lot of parents who ask me, oh, my kid is like this. Does he have apraxia? Does he have ASD, autism? Does he have this, that, whatever? It's not clear cut. I cannot tell you, and it's irresponsible for me to give you that kind of advice. And then the parent just wants to, like, probably you just want to hear it. Like, I just want someone to tell me what's going on. But at the same time, I'm telling you, like, this kind of stuff online that you're watching right now, I'm trying my best to make it as intuitive as it is. But at the same time, the best is still to find a local therapist. There's a lot of limitations that do over here. And also there's also a lot of limitations that the therapist can do for you, because at the end of the day, most of the speech training happens at home. Okay, because like when I was talking to that kid at church, he was saying, "Oh, I'm doing the." It's because it's muscle memory. There's no such thing as muscle memory, by the way, but that's the wrong term for it. First of all, but given that the kid would say that, meaning he already knows his problem, and you think about how many times it is to actually reverse a bad habit, 30 days probably by behavioral studies, like 30 to 90 days, depending on a person. You know what they say, right? And in Chinese, there's a saying called like dynasties can easily change, but habits are rarely broken, or something like that. And I quote like Confucius or something, like how on the internet you just quote who, like say something and say it's by Confucius. Yeah, that's I'm trying to do that right now. Okay, so you know what I'm saying, right? So at the same time, to break a habit, you need to form your own habit of teaching your child at home. All right, because if you don't have a good habit of teaching a kid and being very consistent with it, then nothing's going to work. If you're trying to teach your own stuff. And I know, sometimes I'm saying like, because I see inflation increasing by a lot. Like I'm not even joking. Inflation is real. Rental is going up. So what's going to happen to therapy prices? It's going to go up, right? And when therapy prices go up, what's going to happen to the availability of speech therapy? It goes down, because most people would wait at the government services, right? And what's going to happen to those therapists? They're going to be overworked, and now most of them, their salaries are frozen because of the current economic situation. So your best bet is really yourself. Like always that I've talked about, even before the pandemic, I was talking about parental education long time ago, and it's something that will make or break your child's success in terms of like receiving therapy. All right. So you better do this yourself, no matter if you seek for therapy or not, if you're financially capable, or if it's even available in your country. That's still like, you should still see a therapist. That's the best way, right? But at the same time, you still need to do most of the work, because they're the guide and you need to walk through the door yourself. Okay. They won't come to your house and solve your problem at another parent, because the pandemic is calming down, especially in Southeast Asia. And then they're like, "Oh, man, can I hire a shadow teacher, and I'll teach, and you teach a shadow teacher?" I've done that multiple times, and I'll tell you what's going on. All right. I'll tell you, if you're doing any type of language or speech training, or just behavioral therapy in general, if you have a shadow teacher or in-house therapist that I supervise and teach them what to do, no matter if I supervise or not, the moment that they leave, that's the moment when your life breaks apart. Okay, you cannot have that going on. I've had a mother who just said, "I can't do it anymore. Right? I'm impossible. I need some time to like heal myself. I'm not a teacher by any means. I can't do it." But when she saw the therapist leave, and then she had she had no choice, right? That's what I'm talking. Like, people move on. All right, people go back to their countries, go back to their villages, go back to wherever, have a baby, have a family, and then then who's gonna take care of yours, right? So I'm just saying, I'm not trying to force you or like to tell you, but that's the truth here. All right, and parental involvement is the most important thing ever. So that's all I'm going to talk about tonight, most probably. If you have any questions, put it in here now. Again, there are 7 days from today onwards until Monday to join at a discounted rate. For these people, it's just to test run the course, go through it. There's also a option to add an articulation screener. That's an online version of what I just said. Articulation test is, I won't give you a report. I won't give you anything, because it's not official. But what you get at the end of the day is that when I give you a word list for you to go through, and your child tries to like produce those words, I hear an audio recording, and then I will tell you, or someone in my team, all right, will tell you that these are the sounds that you should be doing. These are the errors that your child has, and these are the next steps that you should try at home. All right. And that's as valuable as it can get, because seriously, you can go see us there. Like if you see me, right, it's gonna be at least 100 USD. Like that's just the thing about it, right? Because just rental. That's what I'm just gonna say. Okay, so that's all for tonight's live. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll try to get to them, and let me know about everything else. Okay, about like if you have questions about the course, if you have anything. But the next time I'll be seeing you, it'll be the closing day of this pre-order. Okay, that's it, guys. I'll see you in the next video, which is next week live, and